Hello, Stitchy friends. How's everybody doing? Today is Tuesday, April 28th, 2026. We are almost finished with the month of April. That is crazy. It has flown by. This has been such a fast month. Welcome. My name is Andrew. This is my dog Winston, and you are here at the Runner Stitcher. You are very welcome to be here and enjoy this wonderful hobby and this beautiful community that we have here in the stitching world. If you are a new subscriber, thank you so much for checking me out, seeing what I'm up to, checking out my projects, and yeah, I really appreciate you being here. If you are a returning subscriber, if you've been here since the very beginning, I can't say thank you enough. Going on this journey with you has meant so much to me, and I'm just so grateful that you keep coming back to spend a little bit of time with me, and we get to share all this wonderful stitchy goodness. So thank you for being here. It's another beautiful day in New York today. This morning it was like low 50s, so a little bit cooler, but the sun was out, and that made for just an absolute perfect temperature to run. And so I did 5 miles this morning before my run, and it was lovely. I really enjoyed it. I got to run along the water a little bit back in my old neighborhood, and it just was a nice run, and it reminded me of how grateful I am to be able to get out there and do those runs and enjoy the nature. I'm also really grateful because yesterday I got the chance to film another walk in New York City, and that was just so fun. These walks have been such a great way to kind of re-experience New York in a different way. While I'm walking and filming, it's like I'm looking for kind of interesting moments or joy that's happening around me, and finding those is really rewarding, not only for the video for you to see, but also for me, just to find those little pockets of joy and life just sort of happening around me. It's been an amazing experience. So I'm really excited to share that one in the coming weeks of what I filmed yesterday. But it was just a really lovely day, and I feel really grateful to be able to have the chance to do that. So as far as other things go, there has been a little bit of a movement on the job front. There's a few kind of interviews coming up in the next week or two. So that's kind of exciting. It feels like there's kind of momentum building again, which is a much better place to be in than when it was feeling like it was kind of stagnant and nothing was happening. So we'll see what happens. I will keep you posted, but yeah, we'll just see. I've also just really been enjoying making these videos for you and just sharing my love of creating videos, of the hobbies that I have, and just getting to connect with you. That's meant so much. So part of my brain has been thinking, like, how can I continue to do this? How can I continue to keep making these videos and keep this going in a full speed ahead? So we'll see what happens. But it's all been fun, and it's been such a really great learning experience for me either way. Other than that, it's been a pretty standard week. Winston and I have had a nice week of stitching, long walks for him outside, and just kind of settling back into New York. It feels like it's been a very kind of routine week again, and it's been nice. So that's kind of all the updates I've got right now. So let's just jump into the stitching. The first thing I wanted to share today was the final pattern that I wanted to highlight from Needle Lot Designs. This is the designer Iris, and I did a flip through of her fantasy cross stitch book a few videos ago. If you haven't checked that out, definitely give it a look if you're interested in that style of stitching. It's an amazing book, and I highly recommend it. But I also decided I wanted to continue kind of sharing her patterns because she has such a wide range of styles, but they're all very uniquely her, and I really appreciate that. So today, in the final pattern I want to share for this month of April, I thought it was appropriate, since we are now in the halfway to Halloween sal that Jason from Jason X Stitches is hosting. I thought it'd be appropriate to share sort of a more spooky pattern. And so the one today that I want to highlight, I'll put a picture up here, is Jack Crow Lantern. And this one just floored me. The minute it came out, I think it was, I don't know, it could have been 2 years ago now, but I just loved it. The design, the detail, it all just works, and it gives this like sort of Halloween spooky vibe, but in a nice way, kind of. So anyway, that's the last pattern I wanted to highlight. It's a very different like aesthetic from the other patterns that I've highlighted throughout the month and in her cross stitch book. So I just wanted to kind of share her wide range. So I hope you've gone and checked out her shop. I hope you have enjoyed looking at her patterns and maybe even purchased a few that you want to start. And if you have, let me know what were your favorites from her Etsy shop or from, that you saw of hers. I think she also has a Ko-Fi where she does sort of stitch along. So there's a lot of opportunities to stitch Needle-A-Lot designs, and I'd be loving to know what were your favorites, what you were interested in. So that's the last pattern for Needle-A-Lot designs. I've been thinking, and I may actually sort of just continue this little bit of kind of sharing something that I found and am excited about, or patterns that I discover. We all have sort of these like wish lists of things, and we don't always get around to stitching them, but I think it is fun to kind of share those, and if it speaks to someone else, then they can go out and purchase that. So I might continue this style where I kind of pick a designer or a fabric dyer or something to highlight for the month, and then each week kind of pick one of their patterns or one of their pieces to share with you, just as a way to continue like letting people know about the different designers and different products that are out there for us to stitch on, because there's such a wide variety of things for us now that I think it's fun to just highlight a little bit to keep you informed. So stay tuned for that in the coming month too. I'll have to decide what I want to do for the month of May. I'm also just so far behind on Flosstube. I finally last night got a chance to just sit down, stitch, and put on some Flosstube on the TV. And so I finally got caught up on a few things. I was able to catch up with Stewart and Stitches, with So Me Sarah, and also the Hathaway Stitchers, their epic sort of 2.5 hour whip parade, which was awesome. It was great to see them back again. And I think also, who else did I catch up with last night? Also the Thread Gremlins, I believe, their latest. So that was fun to kind of catch up on some Flosstube again and just kind of see what all is going on. Because sometimes if I don't get the chance to watch as much, then I'm not as informed of what all is going on. So it was nice to just catch up with friends. I love Flosstube so much because it really feels like we are just having a conversation and we're just catching up when we watch these videos. And I feel the same way when I watch them too. It's like I'm just hanging out with a friend, and that is so awesome. And we get to share this beautiful hobby. So yeah, finally feeling like I'm a little bit more caught up on Flosstube. Okay, I think that's enough blabbing. We're almost at 7 or 8 minutes already, and I haven't even showed you any cross stitch yet. So let's just jump into the whips. Okay, the first piece I've got to share with you today is my Whip into Shape piece. If you are not familiar, #Whip into Shape is a challenge that I created. This is the walking edition, where I've challenged you to stitch along on a project for while I do these and record these walks. So I have a second YouTube channel called Andrew in Stride. It'll be linked down below. And there I post walks of wherever I am. It started out being walks while I was in Florida. So if you're interested in seeing beaches and more, park vibes like that, Florida was a great experience. Now I'm back in New York City, and so the walks have transitioned into New York. And so far we've got 3 New York walks. We have Central Park that's been posted. We also have the High Line, which is an elevated park on an old railroad track throughout the city. And the final one we've got is a video through Times Square. So all of those were so exciting to film, really exciting to share with you. I know you've been kind of picking out little things that you loved from each video, or things that you saw and noticed, which has been really cool. And so the Whip into Shape challenge is a way for you to stitch along to those walks. You can kind of have those going in the background as you're stitching. And the challenge is you can stitch along for the amount of time, the amount of miles, or the amount of steps I take during those walks. And there's a spreadsheet linked below in the description box that kind of details all of that. If you have more questions, definitely reach out and let me know. The piece I chose to stitch along for Whip into Shape is Elizabeth Masterton, 1838. This is from the Scarlet Letter, and here's what this is going to look like. It's a very beautiful sampler that this cover page just does not do it justice. So for the 2 new walks that were posted last week, which were the High Line and the Times Square walk, that was a total of 358 stitches if you're stitching for the miles. And I managed to put in 456 stitches. So that puts me above what I needed to, and I was really happy to get this piece out again and continue working on it. So I will put a picture up here of where I was at the very beginning of the Whip into Shape challenge. I think we're now at about 4,000 stitches, 3,600, 3,700 for the miles stitching. We're at 6,800 stitches if you're doing the steps. So I'll put a picture of the starting point. I'll also pop a picture up here of where I was when I started this week, just so you can kind of see a little bit of the difference. And let's show Elizabeth Masterton. So here she is. This is stitched on a 40 count paper bark by Fox and Rabbit linen, and I'm using all the called for Aversois silks, and I'm using 1 strand of silk over 2 linen threads. So that's the details. Let's zoom in a little bit and see what I worked on. So the main thing I did was I finished this pot right here. Now you'll see it is identical to this one, so it is a mirror image of these on this side. That will be repeated over here. So I finished this beautiful pot with these lovely colors here, and I also brought this dark sort of border line under the pots. I brought that all the way over to here, completed that, and then I had a little bit of time left, so I stuck a few more stitches into this first part right here, which will be this flower right here. So that kind of repeats itself, so in that section. So that's the next flower I will work on right in through here. And I'm getting close to the top row kind of being completed, which is exciting. Yeah, Whip into Shape really has seen some good progress on this. Now this is a gigantic piece, so it is in no way near finished. It's going to take me a long time. We'll need a lot of Whip into Shapes to get this one done, but it is really fun to work on, and I've really enjoyed it. So I think the other thing I added was this heart right here. I don't think I had this yellow heart up here the last time. So I may next time also, I may kind of continue this, the initials across that top border there, just to, you know, those 4-sided initials are not my favorite thing to stitch. And so there's a couple bands of those throughout the piece, but if I can finish this first one here and get that done, that will feel nice. It'll feel like a good accomplishment. So we'll see where I work on this next time, but stay tuned. And now for Whip into Shape for the coming week, I do have some exciting videos coming your way. So I think we'll have 2 new ones again this week. The first, which I probably will post tomorrow or Thursday morning, will be the remainder of the Brooklyn Botanic Gardens. Now I did post a sneak like 10-minute or 7-minute clip of a section of the gardens just to kind of give you a taste of what was coming. And already so many of you were loving the flowers and loving the views and how beautiful it was. Well, just get ready. The rest of the garden does not disappoint. And I think that video is just over an hour. So that one will probably be coming tomorrow or Thursday. I'm really excited to share that one with you. It was a nice day to be there because it was sort of cloudy and overcast and cold, but there weren't a lot of people there. It had rained in the morning and I was able to go in the afternoon and film. And so it just makes for a really lovely, lovely video. So I hope you'll enjoy seeing the Botanic Gardens. And then the other walk will be coming this week too, but I have to get it edited and stuff. So I'm not going to say what it is just yet, but stay tuned because it is a really fun one and an epic one that I was able to film yesterday, the one I talked about. So stay tuned. Whip into Shape will keep coming. I'll keep filming these walks, and I hope you enjoy stitching along or watching along with them, having them in the background, just to kind of get a glimpse of what life in New York City is like. Okay, next up, let's move on to some temperature stitching whips. So the first one I've got for you is the Woodland Enchantress. This is a dimensions kit, and here's what she's going to look like in the end. I have had so much fun working on her over the last few months, and yeah, excited to continue that. So I will put a video in here where I was when I started the week. Okay, here's my starting point for Woodland Enchantress. I'm going to be working in this section right here, so you'll see some of these blues come into her dress right here, blues and whites, and that's the whole section I'm going to be working on, so you'll see some updates now. There she is. Isn't this section so cool? It really looks like this snow is illuminated, and that just caught my eye. Anyway, you'll see it now. And this was only called for 2 days, so this only needed 200 stitches. I did put in 210 stitches yesterday. I just squeezed it in the nick of time, but that puts me at approximately 54% on this piece. And I basically worked where I said I was going to. Sorry, this is getting really kind of folded up here. I basically worked where I said I was going to, and that is in this section right here. So I filled in some more of these blues right here, but then I realized in order to keep going with these blues, I needed to finish this section first. So I also added some of these green stitches in through here to keep that going. So she is used all of the kit materials. I'm using the kit Ada, the kit Floss, and all the called for kit things. So if it's 3 strands, 5 strands, 2 strands, whatever they call for is what I'm using. And I'm just so thrilled with how far I've come on this piece and how she's looking. I think it's just really I think she's beautiful. And of course there's some more back stitching to go. I didn't get any more back stitching done this week like I thought I would, but there will be more of that to continue. And yeah, I'll just keep working on it little by little. Now, those 200 stitches, that did finish the temperature stitching category that it was in. That was the My Choice category. So that got 2,000 stitches since we added it to that category. And so it will sort of rotate out of that, that section. And honestly, I think this one might go away for a little bit. I can't remember if this is in my Mania list or not, but if it is, it'll come back out in May. And then I think it might go away for a little bit. Not that I'm tired of it or not that I don't want to stitch on it, but there's a lot of other things kind of calling my name right now. And I've really made some great progress since I was in Florida. And so I think it's just time to, you know, give another whip. It's time. And we'll come back to this one soon. So you might not see this one for a little bit, but here's one more look at Woodland Enchantress and what I've got completed. So I hope you enjoyed that. And the other temperature stitch we had this week was Under the Oaks. This is a kit from Merejka, and I just think it's so fun. I've really enjoyed working on it. I love the colors. I love the fall scene. I'm excited to continue getting closer to that deer, which is exciting. So yeah, I will put a video in here of where I was when I started the week. Okay, here's my starting point for Under the Oaks this week. This diagonal is basically completed. I just have to work a little bit right here on these stitches to finish this out, diagonal at the bottom. Then I'll be jumping back up here and we'll see how far I get on the next row of diagonals. You will see it now. And this was called for 5 days. I managed to put in 554.5 stitches, putting me at 8.9% on this piece. So very close to the 9% mark, which is exciting. I have done a lot of work on this piece, and here's where it is at now. Oh, I just love it. It looks so good in the camera. I'm really, really happy with this. I love the method that I'm stitching this. I really have been enjoying kind of that methodical way of stitching lately. It, for some reason, is just calming to me, and this piece is no different. So you can see I'm stitching this one in hand. That's why it's rolled up from the side. So that's been a fun new method to learn for this piece, just because of how it's shaped. That worked best. But again, this is a kit from Merejka. I'm using all the kit materials. So I believe it's a 16 count Aida, 2 strands of floss mostly over 1 Aida square. Sometimes there's more strands for half stitches, kind of like a dimensions kit. But I'm using all the kit materials, all the kit floss, and let's zoom in a little bit. So here's what it's looking like. It's almost getting too big to fit in the screen when I zoom in. But I think I told you I had just a little bit of this diagonal left to complete. So that has now been brought down to the end. That's here. And then I came back up to the top and started working through more of this tree. And now we can really see that tree trunk is kind of coming in pretty nicely. You've got some of these leaves over here that are at the top of it, and we've got these branches coming out, but it's really, really looking good. I'm very happy with that. Kept bringing this down further, and I think I ended about right here. So kind of brought in all that foliage, and I'm a little bit into the background pink and yellow sky that's behind here. Now the exciting thing is the next time I pull this out and continue this diagonal, you know, we were right here on this antler. This is the first antler of the deer, and I will be getting into the second antler there, which is exciting. And I also think if I measured it right on the diagonal, I think we'll have our first stitch of the body of the deer. It'll only be like a stitch or two, but the first stitch of the body of the deer in this next diagonal as I'm stitching down through there. So that's very fun. And again, just super happy with this progress, loving the method, and yeah, really, I can't say it enough, just really enjoy it. I'm so grateful to Merejka who gifted me this kit. I love using their app as well. The Fantastitch app is wonderful. If you haven't checked that out before, they have a lot of free patterns if you download the app, so you don't have to buy a kit to use it and try it out. But I've loved working with it and highly recommend. So that's Under the Oaks. All right, next up we've got one of my favorites, and I think a lot of you, it's one of your favorites as well, but this is SAGA. This is a chart from Long Dog Samplers. Here is what this is going to look like. It's this beautiful piece with all these different arches. I am in the 4th row of arches and from the top and just working my way through it. So I will put a video in here of where I was at the beginning of this week. Okay, here's my starting point for Saga. I am going to just continue on these motifs here, bringing these down. I think this is a similar one over here, so I'll work on those and we'll see how far I get on this arch. You'll see it now. And this week I was able to get in the number of stitches I needed, and that was 551 stitches, which puts me at 62.74%. Now with Saga, I have switched up my days again. I think for a while I was stitching it on Thursdays, then I moved it to Wednesdays. Now I've actually moved it to Tuesdays. And the reason for that is it's a piece that I can pick up and work on while I'm editing my video. And lately, the videos, I think my internet connection here in New York is not as strong as the Verizon Fios at my parents' house. And so the videos have been taking so long to upload, which is partially why the videos are not going up until the end of the day, Tuesday. So I'm gonna still do my best to keep these videos coming out on Tuesdays, but it might be later and later in the day as things go, just because the videos are taking so long to upload from my Wi-Fi here, which is okay. It all gets up in time, but just wanted to give you that heads up. But while that's all happening, Saga is a great piece that I can just pick up easily, not a lot of different threads, and I can just stitch while all that's happening. So I think this will be my Tuesday stitch kind of moving forward, and we'll see how that works out. But because I'm also filming on this day, I might not go much over the 550 stitches, but that's okay. As long as I get in the number for the day, that's all good. So enough of me chatting about all of that, but let's show you where I got to this week. All right, here is Saga. Look at that. It's just looking so good. What do you think, Winston? Is it looking good? You like it too? He always wants to look up and watch Saga too. I know, it's a good one. Okay, yeah, this is stitched on a 36 count vintage country mocha. I'm using Silks for You PR 207 and 1 strand of silk over 2 linen threads. And I absolutely love that combination of Silks for You over 36 count. I think it's just the right amount of coverage and it's fairly easy to stitch for me. I just really enjoy it. So that makes this piece even more enjoyable. But let's zoom in a little bit now and see what I worked on. So I worked on this section right here in the arch, the top part. And I think last time I had this bird completed and maybe just a little bit of this motif done, but I ended up being able to do both sides of these mirroring motifs here. And that was the 550 stitches. Now, if you look closely, you can see in the center of those, there's some back stitching there. Hopefully that's coming across pretty clear, but there's some back stitching in the center there. And so I added that in as well. You know, back stitching doesn't really count for stitches in markup, so those are not included. But I think whenever I have days where I'm back stitching as well, I just don't get as many stitches in because more of my thread goes towards back stitches. Anyway, not that that matters or that you really care about that, but that's what I worked on. So yeah, that top part of the arch is coming along nicely. I may have also added in this heart here, and I think I added in this little kind of branch that's right here too. So the next time I pull this out, I'll just keep working on filling that arch in. You know, there's some big full stitches coming in this arch, or a big full motif of stitches. And so that's probably what I'll start on next, but really, really liking the look of it already. These motifs are very fun, and that bird at the top is just delightful. So that's Saga for the week, and I'll keep working on it. Hope you are still enjoying it. All right, I've got 2 more whips to share with you, and the next one I pulled out for, I mentioned it earlier, but Jason from Jason X Stitches, he is hosting a halfway to Halloween sale, and it's time. I think he's doing it for about 4 weeks over from the end of April to the middle of May kind of thing, and I wanted to partake in it. I only have 1 Halloween piece right now, and so it was easy to decide which one to stitch on, but I wanted to join in a little bit in that. So the piece I chose to stitch for this, I worked on Friday of last week, and that was Lila Studios Halloween Quaker. I just love these Quakers from Lila Studios. I have 2 of them started. I have the Halloween one and also the fall one. Those probably are my favorite seasons, but I also have the patterns for all the other ones, and most of them are kitted up. I think the newest one, the winter release, I don't have that one kitted up yet. but all the other ones I have kitted and ready to go and could be started at any time. But I absolutely love these Quakers and really just enjoy the stitches. I love how she's able to kind of take different motifs and make them into a Quaker motif. Like, look at this one here with the cats all around it, or even the pumpkins off to the side. You know, this candy corn one right here. She's just so creative in making the Quakers sort of a modern feel with cute motifs. So I really appreciate that and love the stitch. I will put a little video in here of where I was when I started the week. Okay, it's time for me to join the Halfway to Halloween Sal. I'm pulling out Lila Studios Halloween Quaker, and I'm going to be working on this section down here. So hopefully in my Flosstube you'll see the entire piece and not just this little bit, but this is where I'm starting. You'll see where I get to. And I just worked on this for the one day, and that was 566 stitches, and that puts me at 59.36%. So I am actually getting pretty far on this piece. I'm about 60% of the way through. I think I looked on markup and I have, the total piece is around 18,000 stitches, and I think I've done just over 10,000. So leaving me about 8,000 stitches roughly to go. So it's not done, but definitely is making some progress. And I'm gonna go ahead and show you where I'm at. Here we go. Oh, it's looking so good. I love it on this fabric too. So this is a 40 count Haunted by Seraphim Fabrics, and I'm using the Vicky Clayton silk pack conversion. I actually bought the Vicky Clayton silks for all of these Quakers that I have kitted up. So every single one of them has the Vicky Clayton silks with it. I love the combination of Vicky Clayton on 40 count, and I'm excited to kind of get going on the rest of them, but they're ready. So that's what this one is. And yeah, here's what it's looking like. Oh, it's so fun. So the section I worked on this time was, I decided I was going to come down here and start working on this little village that goes under here. So I stitched that tree and the moon kind of there. And then I started working on the house, and the house was a lot of fun. Look at those color changes in the lights there. We've got some more lights coming in here. I left my thread sort of parked there for the next time I pick it up because I want to continue with that house. But what a fun little motif. Now that is the very bottom of the piece. So that's all the bigger it's going to be. That's the very bottom. Over here, this is the very edge. This is the very edge. So we've now reached 3 corners of the piece. And it's not going to be huge on 40 count, which I kind of love, and it'll be a great one to sort of frame and hang up in the season. But obviously still a lot of stitching to go, but yeah, I would like to try to pull this out a little bit more for the Halfway to Halloween Sal and keep working on this village scene and just see how far I can get. So that's Halloween Quaker. You haven't seen it in a while. It was really good to get back to it and yeah, make a little progress. All right, and the last whip that I've got for you, you probably already know what it is because it is my new start. And if you are subscribed to the channel, you may have seen over the last couple of weeks, I've been posting a couple videos of a new mystery full coverage piece that I would be working on. I did a kitting up video where I showed kind of how I kit up a full coverage and how I'm working it this time. And then a few days ago, I posted the new start video where I take you through the process of getting everything ready, the fabric ready, putting it in my Q-snap, and starting the stitching. So you got to stitch along for the very first stitch of this piece, and that's awesome. Now, I also wanted to highlight that there's another Flosstuber, Tommy Creates. I'll link her channel down below. She's also going through sort of the same process as me. We didn't know each other were going to do these videos, and we both started putting them out kind of at the same time, and it's been awesome to kind of go on this journey with her. But I wanted to highlight her channel because if you go check her out, she just did a kitting up video as well, and she has a very different way of kitting up a full coverage piece. And that's what I love about this hobby, is that we can each have our own ways of doing things and of stitching, and there's so many different ways and different options to kit up and to stitch, and yet we're all still stitching, you know? And it's just a matter of finding what works for you and what you really enjoy and the process you enjoy. So her channel, it was great watching her video as she talked to you while she was kitting up, because you got to see a different way of doing it. So definitely go check her out if you're interested in that. Again, this is a mystery stitch, so I'm not going to be sharing where I got the pattern. Well, I think I already mentioned I bought it on Etsy a number of years ago. It's a pattern I bought when I first started cross stitching and then realized how big it was and thought I would never get around to stitching it. So, but I'm not going to be sharing like where exactly what site I got it from or who or what the pattern is, what the design is or anything. It's going to be sort of a mystery that's going to be revealed as I start stitching. And I was so happy that some of you were, well, that a lot of you were interested in joining me on this process. This is going to be years and years in the making. I think I figured it out that even if I stitch 1,000 stitches a week, it will still take me 13 years to finish this piece. So we're in it for the long haul. And I'm just going to keep stitching on it and keep sharing and enjoying it with you. I also want to say thank you for all of the kind comments on the stitching video I did, the starting video of it. You know, it was really difficult to get all of the camera angles right and kind of figure out how I'm going to be filming these types of videos where I'm stitching, but I also want to just have a conversation with you. So thank you so much for your grace and your kind words. I was so glad you enjoyed it. I will keep continuing to try to get better with my filming setup, and hopefully, you know, in that video my face kept popping into the close-up screen, so you have a lot of close-ups of my nose and my chin if you're interested in that. But I really enjoyed just being able to share that moment with you and starting this gigantic piece. So hopefully I'll keep working on that. But the goal for this one is I will continue to make sort of stitching videos where you can come along and stitch with me. So if you have a project that you want to work on while I'm working on my big piece, you can definitely pull that out when I record these videos and post them. You can stitch along with me and we'll both kind of get progress on our pieces. There's been a number of people who have reached out and are starting a full coverage at the same time, and I think that's awesome. I think it's really great that we can all go on this journey. I also just wanted to say, like, I tried my best to explain diagonal stitching or how I do diagonal stitching, and I hope it was clear. I'm going to continue to try to get better at the explaining and hopefully showing more of what I'm talking about. So stay tuned for that. But I was so happy with the comments. To be honest, I almost did not post that video because I thought, oh, it could be so much better. I didn't do the greatest job, or the editing wasn't the best. So I almost didn't post it, and then I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna do it, and we'll see what happens. So thank you so much for the kind comments on that. I really do appreciate it, and hope it was helpful for you, or maybe even inspired you to pick up a bigger piece or something you haven't stitched on in a while. So this mystery stitch, obviously I'm not showing the final image of what it's going to look like, and I will say that when we did the video, I think I ended up with 60 some stitches and at the end of that video, and I was able to continue working on it throughout the weekend and also yesterday. So I'm happy to say that total now I've added 1,149 stitches, and that puts me at 0.16%. So just roughly above 0.15% of the piece. And I'm really excited to show where I'm at, even though you probably won't be able to tell anything at this point. This is like the big conglomeration of fabric and Q-snap that I've got here, but here is where I'm at. So I've been working in that corner. I think I am now at the third diagonal, I think. So that's exciting. I can't wait to film another one of these videos because as I got used to working with these needle parkers over here, that really helped. I kind of found a method that worked. I also found a way to put my parked threads that kind of got them out of the way. So I'm definitely learning as I go to work with those, and it's become more enjoyable. Last night when I was stitching, it just was a really fun experience. I feel like I really got in the zone. It was almost like a runner's high, but a stitcher's high. Is there a stitcher's high? Did I just discover something new? That we can have a stitcher's high like a runner's high? Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent, but I really got in the flow of the stitch, and it was just so enjoyable. So 1,000 stitches. I'm going to zoom in here and show a little bit of where it's at. So that is the very corner of the piece. The blue stitches were so fun to put in because those colors were just beautiful. And I also really like the detail sort of this outer part here. That does go around the whole piece, I'll say that. So it is kind of like framed in a way. And so, but I do really like how that is looking. I also just want to point out that right here, you can see we got into some yellows. There's some parked threads here that are yellow colors here. And that yellow is the very, very top or the very edge of the first sort of motif or the first section that you'll be able to guess. So I think within about 2 or 3 more diagonals, you will know what this corner motif is right here. And then that will give you a good indication of how you can be guessing through the rest of the piece of what is coming. So I'm really excited for that. It was such a fun moment when I got to those yellows in the diagonal and just really enjoyed that. Now I will say there are some high confetti areas in here. This corner section right here, I think because I was stitching on the diagonal and you had all in the same row, you had these little blues, you had these purples, you had these lighter tans, you had these whites, and it was a lot. You know, there weren't too many single stitches, so it was more, I could still like carry my thread for a couple of stitches, but just a lot of color changes. But the effect I think is really good. I think it looks very fun so far. And yeah, I'll keep going, I'll keep stitching and keep sharing it. Hopefully this coming weekend I'll be able to do another sort of stitch with me video on it, and so you'll get to see more of the progress. And I'll talk about this a little bit in plans of what's coming up with it, but I'm so glad you're here on this journey with me, and we'll see how it all goes. Okay, and those are all my whips for the week. I hope you enjoyed that update. I had a lot of fun stitching this week, a lot of fun filming videos, and just so happy to be sharing it with you. I'm so grateful to be in a place right now where I have time to be making more videos and kind of sharing that with you. And it was a really, really good week, a good stitchy week as well. So let's jump into plans a little bit. So the big plans coming up is Mania. May is coming, and I'm going to be doing Mania 500 again. And Mania 500 is just something I sort of came up with as a way to kind of rotate through a bunch of whips, but not have all the crazy new starts of Mania. But you can make May whatever you want it to be. You can do Mermaid May, you can do Mirabilia May, you can do Modern Folk May, you can do Carolyn Manning May. You know, there's so many different options of what people stitch on. And this was just a way for me to kind of rotate through things. So for me, Mania 500, and I realized last week I kept telling you I was going to talk about it in plans, and then I never did. I just completely forgot. So I'm going to tell you what Mania 500 is for me. So last year how I did it is I put all of my whips on a wheel and spun the wheel. Whatever whip was called, I would put 500 stitches into it, and then I would spin the wheel again and move to the next whip. And that's kind of how I want to do it this year as well. However, I'm going to use the list of whips. I kept track of the order that the whips were called and how many stitches I put in each one. And I'm going to use that same order and just kind of go down through those whips again. So basically each May, I'll kind of follow the same list, except I'll skip over the projects that I finished. This time I think there's about 5 projects, thanks to Florida, that I finished and are no longer on the list. So we should get through the list this year. Once I get to the very bottom of the list and there's no more projects called, that's when I will take the remaining whips that I have on the wheel and start spinning. And each time I do it, I will just spin the wheel, put 500 stitches into that project, and then spin again. And it's going to be a really fun way because you're going to get to see, it's going to be kind of a mini whip parade throughout the month of May, because you'll get to see the full scope of sort of the older projects that I haven't worked on in a while. So May 1st, I will be starting the first project on the list, and the first one that was called last year was Autumn Quaker from Lila Studio. I just showed you Halloween Quaker, but this will be the autumn version of that. And I'm super excited to start off Mania with that piece. It's always a fun one to go back to, and I haven't touched it in a while, so I don't remember exactly where I was when I left off, but that will be the first one that gets 500 stitches. Now so that's my sort of Mania plans. The exception to that is that SAGA, I will continue to pull out every week on Tuesday and continue to put in the 550 stitches so that I can stay on track with that piece to finish it in the 4 years that I was hoping to. So SAGA will continue to come out. I'm hoping I'll still be able to continue with the Whip into Shape piece and kind of get the stitches in for that. If I get a little behind in May, we'll see how that all goes. But I'm hoping to be able to get some of those stitches in as well. However, that does mean that temperature stitching is going to go on pause. So typically right now I would show you the new chart for the new week, and that's going to be paused for the month of May, which I think will actually be great because I'll get to touch a lot of my whips, and then when I go back to temperature stitching, the category that's open is my choice. So I'll just have all of these whips that I've worked on, and I get to choose what I want to put back into the category. So temperature stitching will go on hold just for the month of May. We'll pick it back up in June, and yeah, then I'll keep working through that. The only other plans is WIPGO. Obviously, we got WIPGO numbers, and I didn't write down, I can't remember what the 2 numbers were this time. However, those WIPs I'm hoping will be in my May rotation generically for this Mania 500. And when that WIP comes up that was called for WIPGO, instead of putting 500 stitches into it, I will put 1,000 stitches into it. So it'll get the 500 for WIPGO and the 500 for Mania 500. So hopefully those 2 will just kind of organically come up throughout the month, and I'll be able to just work on those a little longer once they are called. I think the first WIPGO call was my Lighthouse piece, which is a stamped cross-stitch kit that I started, back in 2023, I think, when I first got into cross-stitching, and I've been just sort of slowly working my way through it. So because that was a WIPGO call, and that I think is maybe the second project in Mania 500, that will get 1,000 stitches this month. So that will see some decent progress. And then I'll just keep working down the list and keep sharing it with you. So that's my plans for May. I know a lot of people are doing some really fun things for the month of May, and that's just what I sort of settled on as a way to get back to some of my old projects. So I hope you'll enjoy that for the month of May here on this channel. The other thing I just wanted to say is obviously we have about 2 days left in April. Well, we have today, Tuesday, but then we also have Wednesday and Thursday. I think what I'm going to do is just work on my new mystery stitch because I've been enjoying it so much. It was hard to put it to stop stitching on it last night. I could have stitched all night, I think, working on it. I just was enjoying it so much. And so I think for those 2 days, that's the only thing I'm going to work on. I'm just going to work on the mystery stitch until we get to the month of May, and then we can kind of rotate through things and go from there. Because since that is a new start, it might not get called in May. So we might have a whole month where I don't touch it. And that will be sad to me because it was really fun. But I know I'll be loving all the other projects too. So I'm going to try to put in some more stitches in the next 2 days to kind of give it some additional progress and love. And then it might go away for a little bit until the end of May. And then we'll pick it back up in June. So those are my plans. I know I'm rambling on now, but thank you so much if you're sticking around to hear what I'm up to. It's so funny because when I come to film these videos, I always feel like I get to the end of the video and I think there's so much else I was wanting to say. What were those things that I wanted to say? Or what was the Sal I wanted to bring up? Or what Flosstube did I want to mention? And sometimes it just slips in my mind. I need to get better at sort of taking notes as I think those things so that I can share them all with you. But hopefully I'm not forgetting anything today. I really appreciate you taking some time with me and spending a little time with me. I hope you got some stitching in on a beautiful project. And I hope you have a wonderful week. I want you to know how grateful I am that you are here spending time with me. I want you to know that we can keep moving forward. And if there's one thing I've learned over the last couple of months is to just remain positive and find those moments of joy. I think there's so much to be grateful for in the world, even though it seems like everything is sort of falling apart around us, but there's still so much joy and kindness and love to be shared in the world. And I hope you're able to find that, a little piece of that, even if that is just from your stitching and from sharing in this beautiful hobby with people. But I just want you to know, like, don't give up. I know I was at a place when I was in Florida for a period of time where, it was the negative thoughts were coming, and I shared that with all of you. And I feel like I'm just in a much more positive space now and excited for the future. And nothing has changed. I'm still in the same situation I was in Florida, but I think my mindset has changed. And that makes a big difference if we're able to kind of grasp that positivity or that possibility coming in the future. And I just encourage you to do that as well. I know there are so many of us who are going through hard times right now. There's a lot happening in personal lives and in the world. And so I just hope that you can continue moving forward and continue being strong and continue staying positive. And I'm only sharing from the lessons that I'm learning as I go through this major transition period of my life. And, I hope it inspires some of you to just continue going and continue stitching, because there are good things in store. There are good things coming for us. So with that, I'll leave it at that. Keep running if you're a runner. Always keep stitching, and be kind to whoever you meet on your journey. Bye for now. Until the next stitch.